All right, we're live. So I said I'd be back today. I'm back today, and I hope everyone is having a great Saturday afternoon. I'm here today, this afternoon, on kind of evening now, to talk a little bit more about um, my online business legal toolkit that is currently open for enrollment, and also to take some questions from any of you that might have some questions either about the toolkit or just in general. A couple ground rules before we start. Um, Number one, I'm a lawyer, but I'm not your lawyer, so anything I talk about today should not be construed as legal advice um, in any way, shape, or form. Uh, so if you have questions about your personal situation, you're going to want to consult with your own lawyer about that. Number two, um, I get when I do these things, I get people that tend to ask these questions about these very, discrete topics, and just by the way, hi Angel, hi Renee, nice to have you on here. We see there's some other people here too. Um, Feel free to say hi in the comments. Let me know where you're from. Let me know what your business is all about. I'd love to hear from people. This is every bit as much a live uh, presentation as it is collaborative community building. So the comments are great. I love those. And if you've got a good question that I feel like I could answer, I certainly will try my best to do that. So, but I do get people that from time to time will ask questions, about like their pending patent application or sales tax or this, that, and the other. What this channel is about, what I'm about is I'm an online business lawyer. I work primarily with, I see Renee is from Northern Alberta, Canada. Um, Probably a little chilly up there, I'm guessing. Angel is from Pennsylvania. Carlos is from New York. So we've got people from all over. Pretty cool. Um, so what I'm about here is obviously an online business lawyer. I work primarily with online businesses. Now, what does online business mean? Online business means that maybe you have a course, maybe you are a online coach that works with students online. Maybe you run an affiliate website. Maybe um, you might do freelancing. You might be a web designer, something like that. You might sell products, physical products through like a Shopify store or something of that sort. Maybe you're a social media influencer. All these things are what I would call online businesses. And those are the people that I primarily work with. And so um, David's from Wisconsin. Cool. Um, so, uh, and I apologize if I'm kind of jumping over my words here. But those are the people I work with. So if you are and I can't think of a good example off the top of my head, but um, if you have a brick and mortar store, you don't have a website, and you're looking for free legal advice, this is not the place for you to be. Number one, there is no such thing as free legal advice. You have to get good advice. You're going to need to, in all likelihood, pay a lawyer for that. And this is not the forum for that. So Renee says, snowing today. Everyone give the live stream a thumbs up. We'll bring more people in. I don't know if that's true or not, but I like it nonetheless. And whatever you got in these pants, that's pretty cool. Little like cowboy thing going on. I think. Um, so anyway, that's who I am. That's what I'm about. And um, the other thing I found yesterday, I was on for about 2 hours, and just as the live stream started to really die down a bit, we got this huge influx of people. I don't know if YouTube somehow knows that you're thinking about going off the air and they don't want you to go off the air, so they show this to more people or what, but that's what happened yesterday. Anyway, what I want to talk about today is my Lock It Down legal protection system. And basically what I do with this system is we help take worried entrepreneurs and turn them into legally legit CEOs. That's the general idea of the system. And a couple nights ago, I'll show you here, I gave a presentation. Let me see. I'm still getting the hang of how to do this. There we go. So I gave a presentation here on my Lock It Down legal protection system. I am not going to go through this presentation with you again here tonight, as it's got lots and lots and lots, 328 slides to be exact. And so I'm not going to go through this all today. But what I want to do is really touch on the 4 main pillars of this system. And let me just see here. I'm just going to fast forward to the parts that are really kind of cool. Renee says more interactions equals more algorithmic suggestions. That's could be possible. So basically, the first thing that you really need to know is the part 1 of my system is, and just give me a second while I pull this out. It focuses on 4 main areas. Developing a solid legal foundation, protecting your online presence, getting your contracts in order, and keeping your IP safe. That's the system that that we have for the Lock It Down legal protection system. And so basically, we ensure your online business is protected by focusing on building that solid legal foundation first and getting your online presence under control. And then once you've done that, you can really stand out in the marketplace by protecting your contractual relationships and keeping your intellectual property safe. And so it starts all with the legal foundation. And I define a legal foundation as an underlying base or support that is created by solid legal principles. Now, a worried entrepreneur, which some of you might be, is someone who has no legal foundation. They have no legal protection in place. And they probably feel a lot like, oh, Arjun says, my mic does not pick up my voice well at all when you turn away from it. Yeah. Hold on a second. Let me just switch back to this screen here. Give me a second here, folks. Give me a second here. I've noticed so I got a new desk. And as part of the new desk, the where I have to put the mic on is way further away. So I do have to just move some things around here. All right, hopefully that's a little bit better. Argent is one of my students, so you already know all about all this stuff. And looks like Dale was also saying when you turn your head to the side, we cannot hear you. Thank you for letting me know. So so let's go back. So a worried entrepreneur is much like this guy. This might be very similar to what Renee sees up in northern Alberta, Canada, and basically the idea here being that if you're running your business this way, not sure where to step, no railing there on the side of the walkway, and I've been there and I've fallen in the snow. And in fact, my mother-in-law recently fell and actually broke her wrist and had to have surgery because she fell on ice like this. So it is it is dangerous and there can be severe consequences. So much like trying to walk across a lake like this, where you a bunch of cracks in it. Let's say you did cross it, your resourcefulness has now become a hindrance. So, so let's just compare a worried entrepreneur versus a legally legit CEO. A legally legit CEO, as I define it, will rely on a strong legal foundation to scale and build their business, and not just deal with hope and a prayer. And they'll use something like this as opposed to an icy lake that they can walk over. They'll find the bridge, and they'll find a place to walk across it where it is safe, where there's rails, where maybe somebody put down salt. They've thought about all these things, so they're not going to have that problem. Everything is planned out and thought through. Nothing is left to chance. You have the proper legal structure in place. You know exactly which steps to take and when. So that brings us to the first secret that I want to talk about tonight, and that's systems planning versus what I would call linear planning. Legally legit CEOs, as I would define them, are practicing systems planning, not linear planning. And what does that mean? That basically means that they have a system for everything they're doing in their business, right? They're not just kind of grasping at straws from here and there to try and figure out what works. And actually, hold on a second. I knew I made a mistake in that somewhere, and that is the mistake. All right, I will go back and do that later, but that slide is out of place. So they're more concerned with their overall legal strategy as opposed to, like I said, individual tactics. So I've dealt with clients that have not taken a systematic approach, and they end up in a situation like this. Now, granted, I'm guessing that this guy probably planned this swim, but let's say you didn't. Let's assume this is actually a picture of somebody flailing and just fell in because they took the wrong step. That's the type of situation that a worried entrepreneur is going to be in. And jerry-rigging a business is not the way to build that solid legal foundation. So, and I'm just going to go through this. Like I said, I'm not going to go through this entire presentation tonight because that's not what you all are here for. Go through some of this information just so you kind of understand where the background here. So a lot of worried entrepreneurs, what they will do is they will just Google around for answers to their questions, right? They're not sure what the proper answer is, so they just Google for it. They are an expert in their Google law, and they try and figure out what the issues are that they need to deal with. Now, the second part of the pillar is the online presence, the collective existence of a company or individual that can be found on the web via an online search. So when I talk about protecting your online business, I'm talking about much more than just your website. I'm also talking about your social media profiles, your online store, maybe even an Amazon listing or your YouTube channel, all those things. The new Nick says, hello, I really need help. I am in wind. Well, that's why we're here. I assume that most of you that are watching here have an online presence. So feel free to leave a comment below. Let me know if you've got an online website of some sort, or an online store, or even just social media profile. I'm assuming you have something of that in that way. So as I mentioned, having a website is one component. Another thing that is important is advertisements. A lot of you might be running Facebook ads or Google, and that is another component of your online presence. So in order to keep your presence protected, it's not enough to just have your website protected. You have to have all these web properties. You must take into account all these things to make sure that you are protected. So So here's a quick story that I guess I can go into real quick. Is about 10 years ago when I first oh, Jules is back with the Chihuahua. About 10 years ago, welcome. Yuri says, thank you for all the good info you share. Thank you, Yuri. I appreciate that. So about 10 years ago, when I was just getting started in online business, I had I was running some Google AdWords, but I ran into problems with the Google AdWords because I wasn't keeping track of my ad account very well. And basically, what happened is I tried to place ads directing people to my website. I thought, I'd worked hard. I got a good landing page. I created a good lead magnet. And this is from my law firm. I had an amazing follow-up sequence. And then I posted my first ad on Google. And I couldn't wait to see how many leads came from this campaign. I thought the phone was going to start ringing. It was really going to help my law firm. But instead of all that happening, instead I got an email from the Google legal department. And they actually shut down my ads because I didn't have the right policies and procedures on my website. I didn't have a right privacy policy on my website. And shut down one ad. They shut down like all my ads. So I had to go in and figure out what was going on. And it took me like a day to figure this all out. It was a big problem. And so many of you have probably run into something like this. I've been running ads for years at this point. I started running ads back in like 2004. I never had run into anything like this. And then all of a sudden it pops out of the blue. And that's what happens a lot of times when people are dealing with legal issues or have to deal with legal issues. It's usually the most unexpected thing that pops up is the problem. You don't even realize you have a problem until it's too late. And in this case, I had a problem with my privacy policy service. They weren't compliant with what Google needed. And I didn't know that was something that could happen. And just think about, the other thing I will mention is how long had this been going on where my ads weren't running that I didn't even realize. Because like I said, I wasn't following this ad account every day. I checked it maybe once every couple weeks. And I just happened to go in there one day and I found that it had been shut off, and I had to go searching through my emails to find an email from Google about what to do. So anyway, back then I decided there had to be a better way to start protecting my web properties. There had to be a better way to make sure that something like this didn't happen again. And that brings us to the second secret that I want to share with you tonight. And that is intention versus chaos. And so what do I mean by that? Legally legit CEOs will use checklists and systems to confirm that they are doing things correctly. They proactively act with intention rather than react in chaos to all the legal obstacles that might come their way whenever they come their way, right? And so if you are in this for the long haul and you want to build a sustainable business that scales, you must play the long game when it comes to these things. You have to be thinking about legal in a systematic and logical way. And so I realize that for a lot of you, it's easy to get by without systematizing. You can purchase a legal template here, you can purchase a video there, but those strategies, those are not long-term viable strategies. I was starting to tell somebody the other day that when you want to become a legally legit CEO, you have to start thinking about how somebody who is a legitimate CEO would run things. Would they be pulling, and we're not talking about a multi-million, billion-dollar company. I'm talking about, the big guns, like the good internet marketers, like the Amy Porterfields of the world, the Pat Flynn's, the Marie Forleos, those type of people. Are they going out and purchasing legal templates here and there when they feel like they need to protect something in their business? And the answer is obviously no. No, that's not what they're doing. Now, they probably have a lawyer on standby or on retainer that they go to with all these issues. And but you need to make sure this is taken care of. And by having this taken care of, it takes this huge weight off your chest so that you can actually build a deeper connection with your client, your customers. So comment, let me know if you're kind of getting what I'm saying, if I'm going off in left field. Let me know if you're still with me on this topic here. So, and that's because legally legit CEOs, they're not interested in putting band-aids on their business every time a problem crops up. They're not interested in dealing with that letter from some, Google or another law firm or someplace because they've got a problem. They're interested in building systems that make their entire business more healthy in the long run, which helps eliminate the worry from their lives. Hence, we're getting rid of that worried entrepreneur and changing them into a legally legitimate CEO. And that's not possible when you are sacrificing legal intentionality or systematic intentionality for all these short-term wins, right? CMW says, thank you for taking time to do this. Hey, I appreciate it. No problem. I actually quite enjoy doing this. And every time I do it, it's good practice for me too. So what I want to talk to you about again tonight is a new way of looking at this so that you're not going out and trying to get short-term wins. Renee says, sounds pretty pragmatically practical. Yes, it is, but nobody does it. Nobody does it. This is a new way to think about how to legally protect you, would say. And I call it, in my Lock It Down legal protection system, I call this intentional verification. And this is the system that I apply to every single client that we help to get their business legally protected. Right? And Renee says, appreciate all you do. Yeah. Thank you so much, Renee. I appreciate everyone being here and taking time on their Saturday night to listen to me talk about these things. So let me ask you a question. I think this is a great example. Have you ever been to an event? And it could be a wedding, it could be a conference, it could be something else, and you thought to yourself, you get there, there's like a goodie bag, there's an agenda, it tells you exactly where you need to be, what to do. You go to your hotel room, there's something waiting for you there that lets you know that they really thought hard about your experience. And so you've been to a lot of events, but this one, it's just really, really good. Has anyone ever experienced that? Like, feel free to comment below. Let me know if that's something that you have experienced. And it's just effortless. Like, you always know where to go. You always know what's coming up next. No stone is left unturned. It seems like everything has really been thought through perfectly. Right? And let me just answer, people are offering these questions. So when Birdie's Fly says, can I start as a sole proprietor and file an LLC later? Of course you can. Yes, absolutely. Sorry. Yes, you can absolutely do that. That's the way most people do it. So then let's say you go to another conference, right? And in this one, it is just chaotic. Like, you check in, no, they don't tell you where to go. There's no goodie bag. You're not quite sure when the events are starting. You see a bunch of people congregating, and then that you go over there and you talk to them, and they're like, oh, didn't you get text about this, that, or the other? But they only sent the text to like half the people. And so you feel like you didn't really know what was going on. You're unsure of yourself. You just don't know what's going on at the event. And then maybe they ask you at the end, they're like, well, would you want to buy a ticket to the next time? And you're like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that. So you just decline, or just find something else to do. And so that, um, so the reason I bring that up is because a lot of people have this preconceived notion that to protect your business legally, it's important to do a lot of legal sounding things. Just like when Birdie's Fly just mentioned, can I start as a sole proprietor and file an LLC later? Well, yes, you can do that. But just having an LLC in place is not enough to legally protect your business, right? If you do that, just filing an LLC and not doing anything else, you're no better than those event organizers who really didn't organize anything. So, and I call that kind of duct tape legal, right? You're trying to duct tape all the legal protections in place for your business. And ultimately, that's a painful experience for you. And it's also a very painful experience for all your prospective clients and customers, right? So there is an easier way to get your legal protections in place. And it's one that minimizes friction. It's one that will actually set your business up for a bigger win, longer lasting success. And let's just say, for example, that you did act with a lot of intention. Let's say that you were the event organizer that organized that event, that everything was planned out. And let's say you took that same strategy and applied it to the legal aspects of running your business. And you checked and double checked everything. You knew you had all the proper legal protections in place. But then let's also say that at that point you stopped doing anything related to the legal aspects of running your business. You fail to pay attention to any deadlines that might come up. You never revisited those contracts that you need. You never determined whether or not everything had been properly updated. Would you agree with me that if you did it that way, that the legal protections you have in place would start to actually decline over time? And it may at some point, and it likely would at some point, expose you as unprofessional and maybe lacking attention to detail with your clients. Who thinks that would happen if you just started ignoring everything in your business that way? Well, let me ask you another question. What if you didn't do that? What if the opposite were true? What if you were very intentional about everything you did with the legal aspects of your business, and you worked all those legal protections into the systems we talked about, the overall systems, so that it became part of your day-to-day process with your business? Yuri says 100%. Yes, exactly. Right? A couple things would happen. You'd have all the legal protections in place that you need. You would be overwhelmed because you'd know things were taken care of. And this is probably most important, that I think a lot of people miss when it comes to legal, is your business would be portrayed as way more professional and way more established, right? It would actually make you stand out in the marketplace. You might actually attract more clients as a result. And clients might be more excited to work with you because they can tell that you, excuse my language, you got your shit together, right? And they want to learn more about how you work. I can tell you another example here. Just recently. So I have been trying to find a good accountant. Who needs a good accountant, right? We all do. So I've been trying to find a good accountant for my business. And I reached out to one woman who was actually referred to me. And she worked with a lot of other lawyers that I know. And number one, she saw me as a transaction, right? At least that's the way I saw it. She basically, she quoted me a very low fee to handle what I needed her to do. And when I talked to her about some certain aspects of my business that I needed help with, she basically told me that was not something she'd ever heard of or needed to be done. And so contrast that to another accountant that I reached out to, and his assistant followed up with me the very next day. And actually, I didn't recognize the number because I thought he was in one city, but calling from another city, but that's another story. So they left me a couple messages. I finally called them back. They had me scheduled on a Zoom call with him within a week. And basically they had a system. Like they sent me a customized Google spreadsheet with every single document they'd need from me based on the information I provided during that consultation. They had a list of all what accounts they needed. They had a list of the different based on all they gathered from me during the intake call and during that call with the initial call with the accountant. And they quoted me a fee, and it was a much higher fee, and but it included a lot more. And when I told him what the fee was that she had charged me before, she's like, well, for that, you're just a number. And that's exactly right. You are just a number to them. Like, so, but they were much more, they had a system in place to securely have me transfer all my files to them. They had a system in place for me to securely transfer usernames and passwords and add them to my accounts. So it was just a much better experience versus this other person that basically said, yeah, send me your information in an email. Send me your information and I'll get working on it. Well, that's a lot of sensitive information. How am I supposed to send it to her? And what information am I supposed to send? Like, I didn't know. It came across to me as unprofessional. And so that's what I'm talking about here. So when you're talking about legal, customers will buy from you because of the legal protections you put in place in your business, right? Not in spite of those legal protections. So if you've got good legal protections in place, it's going to establish you as a much more legitimate business. And you can use this in every part of your business. I talk about from setting up your legal foundation to protecting your online presence to managing your intellectual property to all these, to managing your contracts, all these systems. You can use my system of intentional verification in all these areas. So what is this? What is this intentional verification system that I am talking about? It's a process that I've created to make sure that all of your legal protections are taken care of automatically and regularly, right? That's it in a nutshell. We want to make sure all this stuff happens. And let me just go through here. And one of the very first things that I teach my students that join with me is to do a very quick audit of their business and where they're at. And there's actually 11 key issues that I ask them to look at to see where the legal holes are in their business that they need to address almost immediately. And it's going to, by doing this, it's going to give you a lot of clarity. It's going to help shape your vision of where you want your business to go. And it's going to help you get your business legally protected as quickly as possible. And hold on a sec. And so, and this is going to help carry you through that legal foundation I was talking about, through the online presence that I talked about, through the contracts, through the intellectual property, all these things. What I'd like to do now is kind of move into the next pillar. So all this encompasses what I would call the legal foundation of your business. And so intellectual property is the next thing. It's and I define intellectual property as property such as an idea, an invention, or a process that derives from the work of the mind or the intellect. And hold on a second, I just want to see something. So Solar Flower asks, does your product help those who do not have a site but sell on sites like eBay and Amazon? Yeah, we're going to get into I think there's a little bit of a glitch somewhere here. Hold on a second. Here. Okay. So I'm getting this question. We're going to talk a little bit more about the online business legal toolkit here in a minute. I really want to go through these pillars first so that people understand what I'm talking about, and then we'll kind of get into the toolkit itself, if that's fair. But yes, in a nutshell, I will say it does help people who sell on sites like eBay and Amazon because there's so many other areas that need to be protected. So we started with the legal foundation, a little intellectual property and how the lock it down legal protection system impacts intellectual property. So if you struggle with understanding intellectual property, what it is, this is going to be really helpful to you. And the secret to building a successful and valuable online business lies in making sure that all of your intellectual property is protected. And when you're building an online course, and that's because when you're building an online course, you're basically building something out of nothing. You're creating a valuable asset that only previously existed in your mind, right? Oh, shoot. Give me a second here. And so what I see a lot of people do when they're getting started in online business is they create this really awesome, cool course, but then they don't do anything to protect it. And then they're always worried that somebody's going to steal it from them, right? And that in and of itself keeps people from doing or creating anything at all. Who can relate to that? Give me a thumbs up or comment below. Let me know if that's something that sounds familiar to something you've been through. And what happens there is the worried entrepreneur rears its ugly head again and holds you back from becoming successful. Now, when you use my lock it down system that I talk about and intentional verification, which helps you identify these legal problem areas in your business, you're going to, just as part of your overall process, you're going to be taking all the steps to protect your intellectual property as you go through this. And basically, the way we do this is we go through and we methodically document what assets you have that need protected, what intellectual property assets you have that need protected. We talk about, we categorize them in terms of what type of asset are they, and then we run a cost-benefit analysis and we say, okay, is this something that needs to be protected or not? And this is a big key to making sure your intellectual property is protected. I'm seeing the new Nicks. Give me a thumbs up. Solar Flower gives me a thumbs up. Sean Willis gives me a thumbs up. Awesome. So, and Yuri Sanchez gives me a thumbs up. That's a pretty cool little logo you've got there, Yuri, by the way. And I apologize if there's some pauses here. Managing, trying to manage the technology, the comments, and my presentation and what I want to get through tonight is quite a bit of work, but we're doing it. And now, the other thing you need to understand about intellectual property is that as your brand grows, the value of your intellectual property is going to grow as well, right? Because as you grow and get more customers, you can actually license your intellectual property to other people for a fee, or you can sell it, or you can use it as collateral on a loan. And so that brings us to the third secret I want to talk to you about tonight, and that is that legally protecting your business actually requires less effort. Excuse me. Now, if you are acting as a legally legit CEO, you know that time is a limited resource. And because of that, you have to detach yourself from that effort, right? A lot of course creators identify as a hard worker. And they subconsciously go out of their way to make a lot of things hard. So Arjun says, that's what I'm doing. I think what Arjun's referring to as people that have a site but selling things like eBay and Amazon. And so, yeah, thank you, Arjun. Arjun, I think I mentioned this before, but Arjun is a student of mine in the course right now, and we're going to get into it here in a little bit. But a lot of people just go out of their way to make things really hard, and I'm not sure why that is. I think it's a mentality that we grew up with, that to be successful, you have to work hard, but honestly, you don't. I mean, you do. Don't get me wrong, you definitely do. But at the same time, you're afraid that things might be, if things are too easy, there's something wrong, right? You overcomplicate tasks. You make things more difficult than they have to be, just so you can feel like you're working hard, right? It doesn't have to be that way. So you have to, and I love this. Thank you from the new Knicks. Get those likes up, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. I appreciate that. For sure. So, but being intentional about the process makes it easier. But following every strategy that's out there that may or may not apply to you in your business, that's not going to get you anywhere. And that's not necessarily going to make you more legally protected, right? So if you want to legally protect your business, you're going to need a system. And if you were legally protecting your business, depends solely on your effort and your research and what you are doing, who has not been to law school probably, then you're limiting your growth, you're limiting your impact, and you're limiting the legal protections that you could potentially have in your business. And so everyone knows that if you use a system, a proven system, that you can replicate a desirable outcome. That is the whole definition of a system, right? You start somewhere, you put it through the system, and ideally you can replicate that. That's how franchises were made, right? That's the whole model, right? You figure out what works and then you duplicate that. But the problem is that most of the information that's out there is not tied to any particular process or approach that people use in their business. And therefore, they run around. Well, what a lot of people do is they run around like a chicken with their head cut off, trying to work on their business, trying to create content, trying to build systems and from scratch. And then if they have time, trying to figure out what they need to do to legally protect themselves. And that is just not the way to do things. I mean, I used to do this myself as a young lawyer, trying to make sure all my clients were legally protected. But I figured out a new way to do that required less time and less effort, but actually provided more protections. And so basically, in the Lock It Down system, the students, what I teach them is that you should always be constantly working on the legal aspects of your business, right? When you create a new piece of content, you should be using the checklist that I provide. When you create a new brand, you should be using the checklist I provide. When you hire a contractor, or you launch a new course, or you even start a new business, you should be using the checklist I provide in the course to protect yourselves every step of the way. And so, like I said, we do this through a series of systems, and like I said, checklists. And if you start incorporating those checklists into everything you do, then you're going to make sure that the legal protections are actually in place at the appropriate time to have those in place. So going back to legally legit CEOs for a second, they play the long game. They're not in this for a quick win. They want to build something that's real. They want to build something that's sustainable. And as you start to do that, what you find is that as you grow, you're actually going to have to deal with more legal issues over time, not less. Like when you're just getting started, the legal stuff is as easy as it's ever going to be. As you transform your business into a more successful business and you become that legally legit CEO, that's when the rubber really hits the road and you do start to develop a lot more legal problems. But they don't have to be problems because you're taking care of them along the way. And so infusing those legal systems into your business, so like when you say, let's give an example. When you create a new brand that you're going to be selling under, you follow an intellectual property checklist that says, have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done this? And then you know that you put all the protections in place to make sure that that brand is legally protected. And you've decided whether or not you need to file a trademark, you need to file a copyright, you need to do something else. Do you need to create systems in your business to protect that form of lost my train of thought. To protect that brand as a trade secret, I'm sorry. You've done all that. So, I mean, let's take another example here. Have you ever, who here has tried to put together a complicated piece of machinery? I've got a great example. I can't lift up because it's too heavy. But behind me, I have a bookshelf that I have to put up on the floor. But since I can't necessarily show that to you, I've got another example, a bike. So last year, for my son's birthday, we bought him a bike. And because of COVID, you couldn't go into the store and get a bike because there were no bike parts. We had to actually have it shipped to the house. And to have it shipped to the house, that means it came in a big box and I had to put the thing together. Who here has tried to put together a bike, a recently new bike, without using the instructions or what you're doing? Let me just tell you, putting a bike together from scratch without instructions, you're going to mess something up. I was so nervous about letting my son ride that bike that I actually ended up taking the bike to REI and paying them money to basically rebuild the bike and make sure it was all put together correctly and safe to ride. The same thing is true with your legal systems. If you have systems in place, they allow you to plug. Arjun is most clearly. All right, I'm going to do something. It's live. We can do this, right? It's got all these pieces. I don't know what to do with all this stuff. It's got like... I'm just going to say complicated, right? It's complicated. I can't pick up the box. It's too heavy. So anyway, but you've got to plug all these protections into your business and in a way that seamlessly integrates these legal protections into your day-to-day operations. So let's see. So that brings us to contracts. So we've talked about the legal foundation. I think we talked about your online presence. Now we've got contracts, which is the last pillar of the system. And So a contract is a legally enforceable and binding agreement between two or more persons or parties. A parties is just another name for a business or something that's not a person, right? It could be a trust, it could be something else. But um, so that's what a contract is. And we enter these every single day. I mean, heck, today my phone, I have a phone that's like 4 years old, and it like just died. It just does. It's not working anymore. So today I went out and I got a new phone. And what I do, I entered into a contract with them, right? Because that's what we do when we buy a phone. Um, and legally legit CEOs understand how to leverage their business with contracts so that they can avoid having lost revenue, protect their intellectual property, and basically clarify their business relationships. Like, this is another thing. So I was talking earlier, for those of you that are just hopping on, I was talking about this accountant I just hired. I mean, he had me sign a contract, right? I signed a contract with him. It clarified what I was going to pay him, what he was going to do, all these things. This other person that I was talking about, contrast that with, who said, send me your information, I'll prepare the return, no contract. You know, it was like, I mean, nothing. And so it was very, it just, there was no legal protections in place. And that to me is not the way I like to do business. I like to know exactly what's happening. I'll give you another example. I recently hired a designer to um, to do some work on my website, and she had initially given me one quote for a fee for what it was going to cost, and I was okay with that, and I signed the contract, and paid the fee, and then she emailed me and said that she wanted to change some things, and that really, that really unnerved me. It almost made me want to rescind and say, you know what, maybe this is not going to work. But then she clarified and was like, no, it's fine. That the price I quoted you is the price we're going to go with. It's fine. So, that, it's important to have a contract in place. I talked to someone else recently who had, there seems to be a lot of issues with web designers and contracts, because there's a lot of scope creep, which is basically where you hire somebody, or you hire somebody to do a certain amount of work for them, and then you end up asking for other little things. So if you're a web designer and you're on this call, you'll understand what I'm talking about. You have a contract with them that says you're going to do this, 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 and this, and then they start asking you to do other things that weren't necessarily in the contract. And it makes you, as the service provider, feel very uncomfortable, because I know I feel this way. I get it as a lawyer too, all the time. I get people hire me for one thing and they start asking me questions about something that's completely unrelated. And you want to do a good job for these people. You want to get a good review. You want to have them refer their friends and other people to you. So you don't want to turn down the work, but at the same time, it's like, well, how am I going to get paid for that? Because it's not in the contract. And this is where contracts can be so vitally important, and where legally legit CEOs have good contracts in place that protect them. And that's just the beginning. Course creators and other online businesses, they have all sorts of issues with the contracts. They could expose themselves. If they don't have a contract, they could get chargeback requests. They could risk losing their intellectual property because there's no clause about who owns the work that was done. They could, and then even worse, they could fail to build sustainable and lasting streams of revenue. Contracts allow you to do all these things. So that's why it is the fourth pillar of my system. And that's why they're so important, right? So maybe you can relate to that. Maybe you can relate to the hopelessness and frustration that comes when you get a chargeback request or a refund request. And this also happens quite a bit with web designers. You do a lot of work for people, and then you send them a bill, and then they don't pay. They stiff you. That's a problem. You want to avoid those things from happening. And so I'm going to try and talk to you a little bit about that here tonight. Let's talk about contracts. So it's a legally enforceable contract between two parties, and what this means, legally enforceable, for it to be legal enforceable, you have to have what's called um, reciprocal consideration. Consideration is a legal term. It means you're agreeing to do something you're not otherwise legally obligated to do. So that means that the content creator or the contractor is agreeing to do a certain level of work to somebody, and that person that they're doing the work for is agreeing to pay a certain fee to the contractor for that. Um, and typically, if you're I don't know why I'm using web designer as an example, but that's just the thing that's on my mind. And typically, this is something that you're pouring a lot of work into, right? I mean, so I'm going to talk in just a little bit about my online business legal toolkit. I don't even know how many hours creating this course. Between the video tutorials, the templates alone took me just hours and hours and hours to draft and code and do all the stuff I did. So there is a lot of work that went into this. And if you put that much work into something, you expect to get paid when somebody buys it from you. If you do that much work and then you give somebody something and then they stiff you on the bill, like, yeah, that really sucks, but contracts can help avoid that. So what we do in my Lock It Down legal protection system is we include a number of contracts that I drafted that you can use in conjunction with my proprietary legal drafting software to basically create almost customized contracts that are going to work for you. Now, you may make some edits, but they're about 95% of the way done out of the box, right? And what's nice about this is, again, you're going to have a legitimate, a valid contract that's going to look good. It's professional. And you're not going to be trying to cut and paste various clauses from different contracts that you find online for free that you don't even know what they mean. You're going to have the stuff in there that is relevant to what you are doing. And it's going to make you look more professional. Let's see. And then, even more important to that, once you have that contract, it's important to use it in the proper way. So you want to use the right contract in the right situation. A lot of people use arguably what could be a good contract, but they use it in the wrong situation. That is a problem. Or they use the wrong wording in their contracts. They use the wrong clauses, or they edit them in ways that are not worthwhile to them. So let's see. Catalan says, I was wondering if doing U.S. sole proprietorship allow you to sell worthwhile or only within the States. I mean, if you're in business in the U.S., you can sell anywhere you want. Yeah. So by having legally enforceable contracts now, so we've talked a little bit about this. We've talked about your legal foundation. We've talked about just hopping on. Go back and make sure you listen from the beginning, because we've talked a lot about my of the legal protection system. We've talked about the legal foundation. We've talked about your online presence. We've talked about keeping intellectual property safe, and we talked about contracts. So enforceable contracts will give maximum protection to you and your business, right? So this brings us to the fourth secret that I want to talk to you about tonight, and that is being ready as a choice, but not a product of circumstance. So this is the way legally legit CEOs work, right? They're ready. They know what they're doing ahead of time. They know that when it comes to creating legal protections in their business, waiting until they're ready to do that is a trap. That's not actually true. Nicole says I have an LG. I'm not sure what an LG is, but saying that I'm going to wait until I'm ready to do that, that's an excuse that allows you to stay inside your comfort zone and put off doing something new. I could tell you and this is a true story. I actually did a video about it a few weeks ago, about how a YouTuber tried to DIY their LLC. They messed it up. They received a cease and desist letter. It was a whole big issue, and potentially exposing them to personal liability. I could tell you about that. And a lot of you are going to sit here and make some excuse about why that would never happen to you, right? I could show you how a blogger, again, another true story, built a great brand, only to have a large corporation rip it off because he never filed his trademark, and send him a big threatening letter to try and get him to shut down his blog. It was a travel blog. And it was only by the grace of the fact that he had a ton of followers on social media that they were able to push back, and he was able to get his brand back. I get that. And a lot of you will again sit there and come up with another excuse about why that's not going to happen to you. I could tell you how a small marketing company, again, true story, built an amazing business, only to go out of business because they were inadvertently ripping off somebody else's intellectual property. And so she had to shut down her business. I could tell you about that. Again, many of you will come up for excuses about why you don't need to worry about that, why that's not something that will ever happen to you. And so some people, a lot of people, will argue that legal protections are a waste of money. And again, I go back to the principle of the legally legit CEO and how would they act. They're going to say what is necessary legally to do to make sure that we're protected. So that none of those things ever will happen to me. And so once you start to learn about, and once you start to realize how important it is to have a strong legal foundation, you're going to start to understand what is actually possible in your business. I don't think it's a secret that the most successful businesses out there, the ones, and it doesn't matter if you're a solopreneur or, a multimillionaire or, CEO of a large corporation. Every single successful business has something in common, and that is that they take their legal protections seriously, right? They realize that even when they're just getting started, oh, Shayna's back. Good to see you, Shayna. Even when they're just getting started, the legal protections are not something that they should view as a cost, but rather it's an investment that is going to have a tremendous ROI during the life of your business for a number of reasons. And we've talked about a lot of those here tonight. So let me share this slide with you. I absolutely cringe when I see people falling into the trap of ignoring the legal side of their business because they quote unquote aren't ready. Every business to take appropriate precautions to legally protect their business. Every business owner needs to do that, right? And like I said, the most successful ones are the ones that do that. George Santayana, he was a famous writer and philosopher. He said, "Those who do not learn history are doomed to repeat it." And like I said, I've already talked about some of them here tonight, but there are cases upon cases of real life examples of businesses, of online businesses that fail when they fail to put proper legal protections in place to help them. And so we already kind of talked about it. The blogger who lost their trademark, the freelancer who didn't have a contract, and as a result, they lost thousands of dollars on a job they were never paid for. The creator whose course was pirated and sold by a competitor at a steep discount. The business sale that fell through. And this is another true story. I know somebody who's pretty well known. Most of you probably have heard of him. And he tried to sell his brand. It was an Amazon brand, and the sale actually fell through because he didn't have his trademark. Because the brand that was buying him wanted to make sure that trademark could be used. And so by not having a trademark, now I don't know if the sale actually fell through. I think what happened is it got delayed until they could get the trademark in place, or it was contingent on getting that trademark in place. But regardless, it was a problem. And if he had just done that from the beginning, he wouldn't have had to worry about that. So, failure to put proper legal protections in place will cost your online business thousands of dollars. It's not a matter of if, it's when. Okay. So let's see. So if you have this idea in your head that, and I think this is important, that you're actually going to save money by trying to manage your legal protections on your own, then you definitely need to listen to more about what I'm going to have to say to you here tonight, because it's actually been my experience the opposite is true. And I see a lot of people popping on here that are asking legally related questions. I said at the beginning, I can't answer legal questions. I can't give legal advice on here. And so I mean, like Dylan asked, might be off topic, but when it comes to taxes in a single member LLC, is it correct to put your EIN or your social security number on your tax return? Some say since single member defaults. Yeah, see, I'm not going to give you, I can't unfortunately give you that advice, because if you act on what I say here in this video and then you go and do something wrong, then I could potentially be held liable for that. And I'm not going to do that. And Nicole says, I have an LLC and a DBA that are unrelated. Not sure if I should create another LLC or add the DBA under my current LLC. Yeah, so that's Nicole. Keep listening, because I'm going to be talking to you about my online business legal toolkit that might be able to help you with that. I think that's supposed to be an emoji, Kenny, and I think that's what it is. Dylan says, "All right, my bad. No problem. Hey, listen, I understand. No hard feelings. Don't feel ashamed or anything like that. And I don't mean to call you out by saying that, but I just need to let people know. If it's really, legal is one of those areas where if I start giving legal advice on YouTube, I'm going to get in all sorts of problems. But I do have a program and a solution that might be able to help you. So keep listening, because it might be interesting to you. So, let's see. For a startup, trademark protection and listing from my standpoint after 5 lawyers, $20,000. I don't know I'm not quite sure I understand. 5 lawyers, that's a lot of lawyers. Jules says, just taking notes. So, and part of the problem here is that a lot of people are improperly told that legal is not something that's important. So getting back to what I was talking about before, of how important legal is. And they typically find this, and I hate to say it, but through private discussion forums, through Facebook groups, even from other YouTube videos. There's a lot of YouTubers out there that are not lawyers that will tell you that you can do all this stuff on your own. You don't need a lawyer. I'm personally, and I'm a lawyer, I realize I'm biased. I sell a legal product. I work with legal clients. So so I'm definitely biased. So number one. But number two, I want you to understand that is bad advice. It just is. Again, everything I say and do, I look at through the lens of, and this is for me personally in my business as well, right? I know where my business is now, and I know where I want my business to be. I'm hitting this. I know where I want my business to be in 2, 3, 5 years, 10 years. And I act when I make decisions in my business, I try as best I can to make decisions based on where I want to be, not where I'm currently at, right? So what I've started doing is I hired somebody to do all my video editing for me. And that's because later on, and also thank you for the super chat from Shayna. I appreciate that. But later on, somewhere down the road, if I'm a big business, I shouldn't be editing my own videos. Now, granted, I like doing it. Sometimes I still do edit some of my videos. I think it's fun. But on a day-to-day basis, that's not something I should be doing. The same is true with you when you're just getting started in the legal aspects of your business. You shouldn't be doing that on your own if you're not a lawyer, if you haven't been to law school. Yes, pair character stretching his arm forward, raising his thumb up. Is that what I'm doing? Am I doing that right? I don't know. Maybe I'm not. Some wanted 30K. Yeah, lawyers are expensive. I'm not going to sit here and say they're not. So I think I see what Frank is saying. I think what Frank is actually saying is that he was trying to get a startup trademark and listing. He went to 5 lawyers and got quotes, and they was given quotes of $20,000. Some wanted 30,000. So I think that's what he's saying. But again, I don't know anything about what Frank was asking them to do. I don't know anything about that. But lawyers, yes, they are expensive. So let's go forward here. So I cringe when I hear people say that legal is not important, and that obviously is because I'm a lawyer. I've seen what happens to people when they don't take the proper steps to legally protect their business. And I know that there's a lot of people out there that are just unsuspecting entrepreneurs that are trying to do good, who are not maybe listening tonight, that are going to listen to this advice and they're going to follow it. They're going to try and save some money, and it's going to be to their detriment. And some of them, might find out too late just how bad that advice is, because something bad might happen to them in their business. They might run into a legal problem. Legal is kind of like insurance, right? We all buy car insurance. I mean, I'm just thinking how many different insurance policies I have. I've got a life insurance policy. I've got a general liability policy on this office. I have a malpractice policy on my as a lawyer. I have a car insurance policy. We have a homeowner's policy. I mean, that's 5 policies I can think of off the top of my head. I might have another one. Who knows? Why do you have those? You have those because you spend that money every year with the idea that hopefully you will never have to use them. And that's the idea of that. And the same is true with legal. You spend the money not because you're hoping that you're going to have a problem later on down the road. You spend the money on legal because you're hoping that by spending the money on legal, you're going to make yourself more professional. You're going to clear up any problem areas in your business. You're going to protect your brand assets, and ultimately you're going to increase the value of your business. And I'm sure there's another reason to spend money on legal as well. Those are just off the top of my head. But that's why I created this Lock It Down legal protection system, right? It's because I want to bridge that gap between entrepreneurs that are just getting started and the ones that are making, let's call it $10,000 a month or more. There's a hole in the market for those people, because people that are just getting started to spend $20,000, like Frank said, on a lawyer for a trademark. They just can't do that. It doesn't make sense. I wouldn't do that. And so let's see here. So that is why, I started to create this Lock It Down legal protection system. And I've thrown this Lock It Down legal protection system into the Online Business Legal Toolkit. And so I want to share with you what that is, if it's all right with you, for people that are still on. And we've got more people now than we did at the beginning, so that's great. I found there was 4 problems with the way most lawyers practice law. Number 1, my income was entirely dependent on the amount of time I billed. This is just 3 problems, not 4. I'm sorry. I miscounted my bullets. this required me to work long, inefficient hours to hit my financial goals, which was frustrating to me. It was frustrating to my clients. And the traditional law firm model wasn't particularly satisfying to me. The other thing I'll say in here that is a problem with the traditional law firm model is that it puts you at odds, directly at odds with your clients. You as a lawyer, I as a lawyer make more money the more work I do for my client, right? And that's not what the client wants. The client wants value for they want you to do hopefully less work, get the same amount done, and pay less on their legal fee. So and I see this every single day from other lawyers that I work with. Every day I see lawyers do things, and I know the reason they did it. Like so here's an example. I saw a lawyer who sent me a bunch of documents. Now, mind you, it was nice of them to do this, but I know why they did it. They sent me a bunch of documents on a case, and then they list in a cover letter that was like 2 pages long every single document they sent. Well, what is the purpose of doing that if not to bill more time to the client? That's the only reason. There's no other reason. Is it? I mean, I guess arguably it's so you have a paper trail of showing what you sent and what you didn't send. But that's probably what the lawyer will hang their hat on. That's why I did that. I wanted to make sure you knew exactly what I sent you. I mean, yeah, but it doesn't make sense. So anyway, I digress. Let's go back to what I was talking about here. So that's the problem I have with the law firm model. And my satisfaction in providing service in that type of way really started to decrease. And that's in part because as I was becoming more efficient in my law firm, like I'm big into technology. I'm the YouTube lawyer guy, right? So, I mean, I've got a microphone. I've got this like camera here that you can't. I got a camera. I've got, if you could see, I don't know if you can see. I've got like, trust me, I'm a lawyer. I've got this big light right there. Like, I mean, I'm into technology. I love technology. And in most lawyers, like, technology to them, if they had a wireless keyboard like this, that would be like a big deal. So, as a result, my law firm was actually becoming more efficient, right? I was actually, it didn't take me as long to do the same amount of work that another lawyer could do. Which was a problem because if you're billing by the hour and you're billing less time, you're not making as much money. And that's a problem. So actually, the billable hour was actually killing my business and what I was doing. It was a big problem for me. And so I began getting trapped in that worried entrepreneur cycle that I talked about at the beginning of tonight. Right? I was worried about how I was going to sustain my practice when I was getting more efficient. It would have been a lot easier for me to stay inefficient. Most lawyers are inefficient. And I don't mean to throw lawyers under the bus. Obviously, I'm a lawyer. But the inefficient ones are the ones that can make the most money. Frank says, as a startup, you may have to hold out on some of the expensive legalese. Well, yes and no. So that's what I'm about to share with you. So I realized there was a better way to do this. And the better way to do this that I came up with was to sell my systems directly to the client so they could do it themselves. Now, I realized that for this model to work, there's a certain level of responsibility on your part, right? Purchasing a legal course, as I offer, is not the same as hiring me to be your lawyer. When you hire me to be your lawyer, if I mess something up, it's on me. That's why I have malpractice insurance. When I sell you a course, if you mess something up, it's on you because you're the one that's going to be ultimately responsible for everything. Okay? And so, uh, ensuring your success with a course like this is really dependent on two things. Number one, your own personal limitations. You have to know what you're capable of and what you're not capable of. And number two, how well you implement the system that I provide. Okay? So let's talk about your personal limitations as it comes to the legal aspects of trying to run your business. There are some people, and some of you watching may be in this camp, who are just not cut out to implement legal protections on your own without the help of a lawyer or someone else implementing the lock it down system that I teach and that I sell. Gino Wickman, for those of you who have ever read the book, I think Traction, is about the entrepreneur operating system. He's the creator of that, or EOS. He calls these people visionaries, right? And he defines a visionary as, give me a sec here, that person who is always coming up with a list of ideas every week for the business and who is a natural creative problem solver. Visionaries tend to operate more on emotion than on logic and strongly value the company culture. So these are the idea people, okay? Let's see here. Now contrast that with maybe the integrator, and those are the people that basically. Let me just take a step back. If you operate more on emotion and find that systems scare you, then my lock it down system is not going to be something that maybe you'll be able to do, and it's going to be difficult for you to implement long term. You might actually need to go out and hire a lawyer and spend more money. But on the other hand, if you're the type of person who loves rules, who loves checklists, who loves order, then the lock it down protection system might be exactly what you need to legally protect your online business, right? But the key factor here is keeping it that way, right? I talked earlier about how important it is to get these legal protections in place, but then you have to manage them and make sure that they don't deteriorate over time. And so your ability to protect your online business is almost directly tied to your ability to not only implement, but then to follow up and continue to work that system over time. You can't just give up on it, which means every month, every quarter, every year, you're going to have to checking these systems. You're going to need to make sure that you have contracts to review. You need to make sure that you're up to date with your annual reports for your LLC. You need to make sure that if you changed the type of business you're running, you might need to change some of the contracts you're using. There might be deadlines and things that you need to follow up with your trademark. So there are issues that you're going to need to deal with. And my system helps you manage these systems and processes, because the more you use the system, the easier it's going to be. And that's the lock it down system as well as the intentional verification system. The more you use it, the easier it's going to be for these processes to become second nature. You're going to create another brand and you're just going to know because you've gone through the checklist so many times, okay, I've got to do this, 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 and this to make sure that's protected, right? And so you can stop that cycle of the worried entrepreneur that's keeping you from moving forward because you don't know if you're doing things right or wrong, and it keeps you paralyzed from doing anything at all, which happens a lot as well. So, and a lot of that, the reason for that is because once you put these legal protections in place in your business, and follow up and maintain these protections, it's just going to give you so much peace of mind, right? No matter what you do or build in your business, you're going to know it's protected. And then once you start to focus on your business and things really ramp up, then at that point, you can start to offload the legal to an actual lawyer who can help you do it. But you need to make it through that, I would say, $0 to $10,000 a month phase. Once you get past that $10,000 a month phase, and that number, that's a moving target. I don't have like a demographic that is right for this. But maybe for some people that's $20,000. Maybe for some people it's $5. It just depends on what you're comfortable with your business. Then you can offload that to a lawyer. But when you're just getting started, it's important to get these protections in place, and the Lock It Down legal protection system is what's going to help you do that. And the other nice thing about this is that you don't have to wait for a call back from a lawyer charging you $500 an hour, right? You'll literally be building these processes into your business as you build your business, which is kind of cool. So, and I realize here that when everyone is talking about putting legal protections in their place, they want to pigeonhole it into I need an LLC. Right? That's the big thing. And like right on point, Salvador says, for a real estate rental business, it's a good idea to manage each property in its own LLC. That's up to you. That's a personal choice. That's what I would recommend, but that's a personal choice. But what most of you don't understand is that having legal protections in place is more than just an LLC. You have to have all 4 of those areas that we talked about tonight covered. And that's the best way to make sure you're protected, right? So when you set up that LLC, you're starting to get protected. But that's only one small aspect. And the other thing is, if you do it wrong, it is confusing. It's not necessarily an intuitive process. It seems easy, but it's not. If it's not done properly, you're going to lose the protections you thought you had by putting the LLC in place in the first place, if you do it wrong. And it triggers a whole laundry list of other things that you're going to need to take care of to make sure your business doesn't lose that protection of what I call the corporate veil. So hopefully it's at least makes some sense to you right now that having your business protected is much more than just having an LLC. Hopefully, if I do nothing else here tonight, it's that I make you understand that an LLC in and of itself is not the only thing you need to make sure your business is legally protected. And when you fail to put these proper protections in place, you really are slowing down your growth, to be honest. So again, why are these protections so important? I talked about this at the beginning. I'm going to mention here again. And share with you another slide here. Perspective are going to take you so much more seriously when you have those protections in place. And not only that, it's going to start to shift your thinking about your business and give you the mental mindset that your business is actually legitimate and worthy of your success. And that, my friends, is one of the biggest things, I think, from legally protecting your business. And that's because when you start to take your business seriously in the form of getting the legal stuff in order that you need for your business, I mean, the sky's the limit on what you can accomplish. It really is. It really is. I mean, without even realizing it, you'll start to kind of strip down what I call the imposter syndrome. It's not what I call everyone. That's a term that's been out there. That maybe are holding you back because now you'll know that you are capable of doing certain things. And then the other thing, I mean, when you're doing business, you have one chance to make a good first impression with a client. That accountant I talked about earlier that sent me an email saying, send me your stuff, I'll get started working on your taxes. That was not a good first impression. That was a bad first. Maybe she thought she had the business in the bag. I don't know. But when you send an email like that doesn't give me instruction, that doesn't tell me what you need, that doesn't tell me how I can get it to you securely, because I don't want to be sending my financial statements and things like that through email, that tells me that it makes me question how good this person would be versus the other accountant that had a spreadsheet of all the things they needed from me and exactly how they wanted me to provide them and exactly how we could do it securely. They even had a service that I had to create an account with, that I uploaded all my stuff to that service. So it was all done securely and encrypted. So, but it's more than that. It's more than those legal foundations. It could be a trademark that you created or didn't create, the contract that you sent to them, So let's say you did have a contract, but it was a crappy contract. That makes you look bad too. You know, or then legal notices you don't have on your website. I was doing some work for a client recently who was asking me, who was having me draft some of her website terms of service and her privacy policies and things of that sort, legal disclaimers. And I tried searching around for her competitors' websites to see who had what on their websites and what type of language might be appropriate or not appropriate. And in the industry that she's in, not a single one of her competitors had a privacy policy or terms of service on their website. I was blown away. I couldn't believe it. So she immediately, by having those things in place, is catapulting herself above all of her competition just because she has a more professional looking website that has the contracts that it needs at the bottom. So, when you're not taking advantage, when you're not paying attention to that, the hard work and money that you spend to try and get a customer, it's all up in smoke if they don't see you as legitimate. But when you follow the Lock It Down system that I've talked about tonight, all of those barriers are removed for people to potentially purchase your product or service. So, and that's because my methodology that I talk about utilizes systems at every step of the process to make sure everything is connected and taken care of the right way at the beginning. Now, if you try to implement legal protections without a system, if you don't know what you're doing, if it can lead to disastrous results, right? And you could be doing things wrong. You could not be. You don't know what you don't know, and God forbid something bad happens, you're going to feel deflated, demoralized, or maybe give up on entrepreneurship altogether. And I don't want any of that for any of you. But I want you to know that you can protect your business. You can. It is possible to do this yourself. It's just you got to have a system to follow, and that's what I have. So, as we're going through this, give me a second here. I want to talk to you a little bit about my Lock It Down legal protection system, right, that I've talked about today. And so my question I have for you that are still on is, are you ready to take the next steps in online business? I mean, I've talked about a lot of information tonight, and I want to know if what I'd like to share with you is kind of the system I've developed, the online business legal toolkit that I've developed. It's right now open for enrollment, and we're going to be shutting it down here very soon. But I want to make sure that people that are interested in this, they have the opportunity to get in now while it's still open, because I'm not going to be reopening again until either May or June. So let me, and as I go through this, feel free to answer or ask any questions you might have, and I'll do my best to go back through the comments as we get through this and answer any questions you might have as well. So when I was deciding to put this together, and as my YouTube channel has grown, the demands on my time have exceeded my capacity to deliver one-to-one legal services. And I kind of talked about that earlier. And there's other things that have happened that have made it harder for me to deliver one-to-one legal services, at least in the traditional sense. I want to tell everyone right now, in case you're wondering, like, wait a minute, he was talking about the billable hour. What about that? I do not do anything work by the billable hour. I have, I think, 1 or 2 clients that I still bill by the hour. And the only reason I still bill them by the hour is because when I told them I would switch to a flat fee for them and save them some money, they both resisted it. They're like, no, we don't want to do that. Just keep doing what you're doing. So that's what I do. Um, and they've both been with me for like 3 or 4 years. So when I was trying to figure out how to move forward with this online business stuff and helping online entrepreneurs, I basically had two choices of what I could do. I could continue to raise my legal fees in working with online entrepreneurs, which didn't align with my core values because of what I want to help. I want to help people that are just getting started. And I'd have to turn away a lot of people because I wouldn't be able to. I'd either have to provide substandard service to a lot of clients to at a very low rate that would make me miserable, and it wouldn't be very good or valuable to you as well. Or I could find a way to package all that knowledge into the templates, checklists, and information into a course that could help more entrepreneurs become legally legit. And so that's kind of what I did, right? I created a framework that I could use that would help online entrepreneurs, and I packaged all of it into what I call the, and I'll share this with you, the Lock It Down Legal Protection System, so that you can protect your online business and everything going on the right legal foot from the very beginning, so you don't have to spend hours in a law library researching what you need to do to protect your business. And so that's what I did. And I spent months preparing this. And I surveyed the people on my channel. I surveyed the people on my email list. I talked to people. I asked them about what they wanted. We did a beta launch about a year ago, actually, right when COVID was starting, to figure out, if this is something that people would actually pay for, because I didn't want to put something out there if nobody's going to buy it. And now, up to now, I've had over 300 people I've put through the program. And we've got a thriving Facebook community I'm going to show you in a little bit. And so basically, let's talk a little bit about what this program will help you with, how this program will help you as an online entrepreneur. We already talked about how it's going to help you look objectively at your business and determine where your legal weaknesses are, right? It's going to help you to determine the best legal structure for your business. So I've seen some questions already in the chat. This is like the number one question that I get from people is, what legal structure should I form? When should I form it? How should I form it? Well, we answer all those questions in the toolkit. We talk about how to identify and protect your intellectual property. We talk about creating the legal documents that you need to keep your business compliant and safe, whether you're online or offline. We talk about ridding yourself of the fear of not knowing how to move your business forward on a day-to-day basis in the legal way. And we help you basically protect your business from all those unknown or unforeseen risks that we talked about earlier, like the blogger or the YouTuber that created the LLC and did it wrong, or the blogger, like I said, that had his brand ripped off, those type of things. We also help you solidify your contractual relationships with the templates we give you. And so again, with this program, I had another choice to make when I started making it. I could go as cheap as possible and try to sell as many of these as possible. Or I could go with another option, which requires a slightly higher investment on your side, but allows me to really pack on the value, so to speak. And that's what I did. But before we talk about that, I want to share with you kind of what are your options for legal services. And we've already kind of talked about this tonight, but I think it's important to go over it again, because I know there's probably a lot of turnover on these lives. People pop on, pop off. If you're, how much is it worth to you to have a business that's set up for success? We already talked about, you could hire a lawyer for $3,000 to $5,000. You can get your LLC. You might get a couple contracts. That's fine, but not much else. You can go to another DIY service, several $1,000s, with a faceless corporation without knowing what you're getting. And that's fine. Or you could do nothing. I mean, doing nothing is a legitimate option. And I'm not going to sit here as a lawyer who obviously is biased towards not doing nothing and tell you that that's not a viable option. There's lots of businesses, online businesses, that go out and start their online business and they don't do anything, and it's fine. Nothing ever happens, you know? They wait until they're making sufficient amount of money, then they hire a lawyer that they can afford at that point. Maybe they don't, I don't know. But there's plenty of businesses that do that. The likelihood of something bad happening in your business is probably very small, especially when you're getting started, because nobody knows who you are. And so the likelihood of getting sued is small. The likelihood of getting on the radar of the FTC is small. The likelihood of messing up an affiliate relationship somehow is small. However, there's also a possibility that something bad could happen. And especially when you're talking about posting content on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, all these things, the likelihood that you do something wrong is more likely to lead to a shutdown of a copyright strike. You do a search on YouTube for copyright strikes. People have posted videos about that. And frankly, it would probably be a lot more, except some of the people go through that process and then they end up getting 3 copyright strikes and lose their channel completely. So, I mean, do a search for that, or people that are on Instagram that violate the affiliate rules that they need to follow like that. So I'm not here to tell you that you have to do anything with regard to legal. In fact, I tell you, that's up to you. But I do want you to be aware of what the potential consequences could be if you don't do it. So let's see here. Now, in terms of perspective, the clients that do hire me individually, they typically pay me anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 a month. So you can do the math on that, of what that might cost for the information that I provide in my course. And but if you're not at a point where that's something that is possible for you, then I don't feel comfortable taking you on as a client if I can't provide you with at least 10x return on the investment that you're going to pay. At the same time, I don't want you going out there and copying, pasting other people's contracts, or put off filing your LLC, or wasting time confused about what intellectual property you should be protecting because you're not sure what to do. And I definitely don't want you waiting. I mean, you could do this; it's legitimate. But I don't want you waiting until something bad happens to reach out to me, because then you're in a crisis. Because honestly, waiting until something bad happens, if you want to talk about legal fees, you might spend this much when you're just getting started. If you wait until something bad happens and you haven't done anything, you're going to be spending, that much. With my legal toolkit, I want to show you. I want to talk to you about how it works. So basically, what we have here is, with my Lock It Down legal protection system, we talk with you about how to start your legal foundation, how to protect your online web presence and your properties, how to keep your intellectual property safe, and we talk to you about how to maintain your contractual relationships. These are all the 4 pillars of the Lock It Down system that help you go from worried entrepreneur to legally legit CEO. And I'm going to share with you, for those of you that are waiting, this is a special link that you can go and purchase my online business legal toolkit. Now, what I really want to talk to you about is, who is it right for and who is it not right for? If you have a business that's, from just getting started to maybe around $10,000 a month in revenue, this is definitely something that you should be on your radar. If you don't feel like you have a good handle on the legal aspects of your business, this is definitely something that you should think about. And here I'm going to show you what's in each of the modules. So in module 1, we start by setting a strong legal foundation. So we've got videos and checklists and templates that are going to help you so like Frank asks, would you speak on the different articles of operation, agreements, organization, the importance of online versus retail brick and mortar business? It's the same thing. A business is a business is a business. An online business is no different than a brick and mortar business. I spoke to 2 attorneys that had no idea what I was talking about. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but I'm guessing they didn't understand what an online business versus a retail brick and mortar business, I'm guessing. And that's Frank. I don't even know, Frank, if you're still on or not, but that was your question you asked a while ago. So let's see here. So that's module 1. That's what we talk about in module 1. In module 2, we talk about how to protect your online properties. Yeah. So like I said, Frank, a business is a business is a business, and there is no difference in the eyes of the government or the IRS between an online and a brick and mortar business. Maybe at some point there was, but now today, in today's day and age, there really isn't. I mean, it's a business. I mean, you're running, just because you're running a website and selling products through a website as opposed to having people come into your store and selling the same products, it's a business. In module 2, we're going to talk about protecting your online properties, your online presence. So that includes your getting your core website documents in place. Your terms of service, your terms of sale, the legal disclaimers, a DMCA takedown, all these things. In module 3, as Frank starts to ask questions about freelance contracts, we're going to talk about what contracts you might need. We have templates for client contracts, for employee contracts, for independent contractor agreements. We walk you through those contracts, what they mean, what the different clauses are, how they're relevant to you. We have checklists that you can use when hiring these people to make sure you do it the right way. And then in module 4, we go through how to keep your intellectual property safe. So how to register your copyrights, how to do a trademark search, how to register your trademarks, talking about fair use, all these things. And so that's kind of what is included in the base of the Lock It Down system, those 4 modules. Hold on a sec. And let's see. So who will this work for? It'll work for course creators, freelancers, aspiring coaches, bloggers, podcasters, social media influencers, coaches, affiliate marketers, YouTubers. It's going to work for a lot of people. We talked about the selling online versus selling in a brick and mortar store. I mean, if you're in a brick and mortar store, you are going to need to worry about your intellectual property. You're going to need to worry about contracts. You're going to need to worry about a strong legal foundation. And to the extent that you have a website, you're going to need to worry about that as well, right? Retail online. Yeah, I mean, it's the same basic thing. So let's talk about what's kind of included. One of the big parts of the toolkit that's included is the contracts. And so if you were to buy all these on my website, $17.79. That's how much it will cost you. I do offer a bundle that makes sure some of them are less expensive. But the toolkit itself is about half that cost. So you get all of those included in the toolkit when you purchase. Let's see here. There's also we also have a Facebook community for right now. I talked about this a little bit yesterday, but I'm in the process of in the next several months, I'm going to be switching this over to a different online platform that's not Facebook. I know there are a lot of people that have concerns about Facebook, but I haven't done that yet. The other main thing that's going to be included in the toolkit that's really important that you need to know about are I include 12 monthly group coaching calls, which I'm in the process of switching into a separate standalone product for $297 a month. And so next time I launch this, it's probably going to go down to basically I'm going to be lowering the number of calls that are available, and then eventually it's just going to go away. So maybe next month it's 9 calls are included, then 6 calls are included, then maybe 3 calls are included. But that's going to become a standalone product in and of itself, is where I'm going with that. So I'm happy to answer questions that people might have about it, and how it is going to work. So feel free to ask away. Are they fill in the blank forms or intuitive interview forms, i.e. TurboTax? That is a great question, Nicole, and I will actually show you that. So if you go to, let me show you how this works. So let me put my, oh, I can't, hold on a sec. I'll put myself back up here, so I'm out of the way. And so let me show you. So if we go, so when you sign up for the toolkit, you get access to these 3 courses. So the first course is itself. The second course is the coaching calls that, like I said, I'm breaking out into a separate standalone product, which is how we're going to do that. Then the last course is a bonus course that you'll get access to as you earn your first 1K, that basically talks to you about the mindset issues, creating your first product, finding a niche, all these type of things that go into earning your first $1,000 online. Mac Trustable, thank you for the comment. I appreciate it. But let's go in here. I'll show you exactly how these work, Nicole, since you had a question about that. So when you first log in and you're in the course curriculum, so let's go into, for example, the website terms and conditions. So what that's going to do is going to take you to, there's going to be a video here that basically walks you through the form. And then when you click on the terms of use here, here's how this works. So let's say the name of your business is XYZ Company LLC. We'll just put in some blank, some gibberish here for your street address. I live in Cary. And so your business email address, let's say, is support at xyz.com. Jim Hart, that's my name. And then you just put in the email address you used to purchase it, phone number, and then click continue. And this is where the rubber meets the road. So what is the website address? So let's say it's www.xyz.com. Give me a sec here. All right. Let's say you are a limited liability company. Then it'll ask you a follow-up question on that, right? So you're registered I'm registered in North Carolina. Do you have affiliate links? I do. Would you like to include an arbitration clause? I would. Where should arbitration take place? I'll go ahead and say Raleigh, North Carolina. I can't type tonight. What state laws? North Carolina. What's the topic of your website? Well, for me, let's say it's legal. You can fill that out later. Have you registered any trademarks related to your business? So every time you answer a question like this, it's going to include clauses that have been custom drafted that are going to, it'll insert those into the contract. So if you register a trademark, it's going to include a clause that's going to include information about that in the contract. So I've registered on law. Let's say I do use testimonials. Let's say I collect emails. Do I pay for testimonials? No, I do not recommend anyone pay for testimonials. Let's see, xyz.com/DMCA. Would you like to allow limited distribution of your content via your terms of use? Yes. And so if you have a question, then it's going to change. It'll tell you what's in there or how to answer the question in your situation. So then you can go ahead and click continue. What county court system would be? Let's say Wake County, Raleigh, and click continue. And then it's got all the information that you entered here, right? And then basically what you do is you go ahead and click continue, and it'll download the document as a docx or as a PDF, and you can email it to your web designer. I would recommend at that point that you open it up, review the document, make sure everything is appropriate for you, and then you can go ahead and send it to your web designer or upload it to your website, whatever you do. But that's basically the way it works. Hopefully that answers your question, Nicole. I think it does. She says, awesome. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Thanks. Yes. John says, should I set up a holding company for real estate buy and hold business? I don't know. Like I said, we're not answering legal questions tonight. This is really just to talk about my online business legal toolkit. If you want to watch from the very beginning, we did a ton of information about my Lock It Down legal protection system and how it works. And now we're kind of sharing with you the toolkit and how that works. So anyway, Emrenza NC says thumbs up. Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate the thumbs up. Jules says, have to run. Thanks for all the info. You are welcome, Jules. Love to see you in the course. Let's see here. So that's kind of that's the way it works. And then if you go down, there's a ton of information about, and then especially in the bonus materials, we've got bonuses on 10 avoidable mistakes that online entrepreneurs make. We've got a tutorial on how to keep your website safe from scammers and copycats. These are all videos, as you can tell. Then we've got all the coaching calls from Module 1 through Module 4 that are still in the course for right now. This is this module down here, the coaching call replays. This actually has been taken. It's going to be taken out. It's in there right now, but we're actually putting that in here. So this has all the 2020 coaching calls and all the 2021 coaching calls so far for January, February, March. And the one should be coming up soon. We did it last week. The other thing I don't think I mentioned is we've started bringing on, so next week is going to be our second subject matter expert that's coming in. So we had, Rick Mulready was kind enough. If those of you that don't know him, definitely should check him out. I'm going to be posting a video interview that I did with him a couple weeks ago before he talked to my group. And it's going to be a 3-part series on his optimized launch method. And he got into that a little bit in the coaching call as well and took questions from people, which was great. Ton of value. But we've started, so the group coaching calls are now, and the reason why I'm going to be doing it as a standalone product is now it's not only going to be me talking to people, like in March, where I was in my old office. I'm since in my new office now. But here's like the stuff we talked about, roadmap, dates to remember, group wins, how the IRS reacts to minimal income business, limitations on standard operating agreements, does an affiliate market need a business insurance, choosing liability insurance, extent of contracts for people who purchase the OBLT. So, I mean, just a lot of stuff in here. How to pay a salary for yourself, should you open a company bank account. But basically, these are some of you are asking here in the comments. These are the type of questions that we get into on these coaching calls, right? And so again, Yuri is asking another legal type question. If you make changes to your company, like trademark, after creating the docs, can they be edited? Oh, I think what you mean is in My Docs. Yes, you get access to these. So let me show you here again. So you're downloading the document as a Word document. So, and I would actually recommend that you do edit them. So let me go back here to the toolkit. So let's say you decide to use this here for the client contract, right? We have a client contract template that also has another walkthrough here. And so you can use that contract. Then what you do is, the way I recommend you do it, and what I tell my clients to do, or my students, is you download that template, and then and once you've downloaded it, you can edit it however you like, right? So if you want to change certain things in it, you're free to do that. If you want to put it on letterhead, if you want to put it in a Canva design and make it look really pretty, or whatever you want to do, you can use it however you want once you've done it. And what I typically recommend specifically with the client contract is you create one, and you have that be your standard template that you use for every client, and then you leave blanks in there that you can fill out the price or how you're going to work with them or the deliverables or things like that, if that makes sense. So yeah, you can definitely edit them after the fact. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's see. So what other questions do people have about the toolkit, if you do have any? Hopefully many of you are already on my email list. If you're not on my email list, you might want to get on it, because I can get you more information about the toolkit. But if you weren't on the launch list, if you didn't sign up to join the training that I did a couple nights ago, then you're not likely going to get the emails, the launch emails here. But if you would like to get them, I can certainly. I guess I can put a link after we're done tonight. I'll put a link down in the description that you can sign up for the launch emails. But the launch we're good through Monday night is when this is all going to shut down. Yeah, that's kind of what I got for tonight. I'm getting a little tired, and honestly, I'm going to have to go to the bathroom soon. I've been drinking a lot of water, so. But I'm happy to stay on for a little bit longer and answer any more questions that people might have about this. Frank says, do I form LLCs for clients in other states? I do. I form LLCs for people in all 50 states. Actually. But this is the current offer that we have available to people. I had to take that one thing off because that's no longer available. But this is what we've got offered right now. And let me see here. So there are some questions that I typically get from people. I'm happy to answer those. How long do I have access? How long do I have access? It's lifetime access for the Lock It Down Legal Protection System and the Online Business Legal Toolkit. The coaching calls, you get 12 months of access. What legal templates are included? I kind of showed those earlier, but we have the website terms of service, the privacy policy, the terms of CMCA takedown, the client contract, the independent contractor agreement. I think there's a couple more that I can't remember. I have an offline business. Will this work for me? What I would say is yes. I mean, obviously it's geared towards online businesses, but it will, there's a lot of, as I started to say to Frank, who asked earlier about this, I think it was Frank, there's a lot of components of, whether you're an online business or an offline business, you're still a business. And so you still need that legal foundation. You still need the contracts. You still need to think about intellectual property. You still need to think about protecting your online presence if you have an online presence. If you don't have an online presence, well, then I guess you don't need to worry about that part. 3 modules are definitely going to be applicable. What if I haven't started my business yet? Well, that's, I think that it's still a smart investment for people that are just getting started. Because, even if you don't have your business started yet, it's still something you need to be thinking about. Legal is something you always need to be thinking about in the back of your head. Also, that's why we offered the one bonus here. Let's see if it's why is it doing that? Oh, that's okay. So that's why we have the Earn Your First 1K workshop, which is, we have quite a few lessons in there. It's about a 3-hour, I want to say maybe about a 3-hour course. Maybe not quite that long, maybe 2. So let's see. Mudster says, so if I buy into the Legal Toolkit, is it something you can log into over different years? And if you come up with new docs, are they included with the prior purchase of the toolkit? That's a great question, Mudster, and yes and yes. So let me just, okay. So yes, you can log in over you get lifetime access as long as we offer the program, which I'm hoping will be quite a long time. I have no intention of shutting it down anytime soon. And if you come up with new docs, and that's actually another part that I'm actually doing, is I've added new templates even since last year. Is adding new documents on a regular basis. And you get access to all those. So if I add a new, like a podcast contract, you'll get access to that. It's not something that'll go away. So what I'd like to do over time is offer like a contract of the month type of thing, where we put a new contract into the course once a month or once a quarter or something. But I definitely want to keep updating and making sure it's better. The other thing is if laws change, and so like with privacy policies, that's the most recent example because the laws just changed in November. We'll be updating the contract, the privacy policy, to reflect that, and then letting everyone know about that. And then the other thing I will show you that I didn't already show you, I don't think. Give me a second here. So this is the Student Center. Give me a second here. I'll pull this up. So this is the sorry, give me a second here. I think that's right. All right. So this is the student center that we have, and you see we've got some announcements at the beginning, and then so brand new member here. Just posted some stuff a couple hours ago. I haven't seen that yet. We've got some wins coming from some people. So we had a Zoom call a couple days ago, and questions about 2253, which is for S corporations. We've got coaching calls. Our next call is coming up here this week. We've got a financial guru coming on to help people learn how to set up their business legally for success. So it's a pretty cool community. Does this kit cover how to maintain your business book records? We do have a tutorial here. If you give me a sec, I'll pull it up. If this is what you're talking about, not bookkeeping, because I'm not an accountant. Where is it? Yeah, so we have something here about maintaining and storing your documents. We do talk about that a little bit. It's not a huge emphasis of the course, obviously, but we do have information about that in terms of your corporate book. What other questions do people have? I'm happy to stay in and chat. We've been on for about a little over 2 hours. So I'm happy to answer a few more questions. It's almost 8 o'clock here, so I'm probably going to be jumping off here soon, but happy to answer some more questions. Also, I didn't have dinner, so I'm like really starved. And my wife made an awesome butternut squash Alfredo tonight, which is one of my favorite dinners that she makes. And I missed it. All right, I'm not seeing a whole lot of other questions coming in, and so I think I'm probably going to hop off. I'm going to be doing another one of these on Monday night. I might do something tomorrow. I have not decided yet, but I'm going to be doing another one of these on Monday. Just to Nicole says, yes, that's what I was looking for. Thank you. You are welcome. So once again, the link, if you're interested in signing up, is I think this is the right one, hawthornelaw.net/special. And let me just show you how that works real quick, and then I will hop off for sure. I promise. Unless people want to keep chatting, but I don't think my bladder is going to allow that. So that'll take you to this page. And then you can just click on this button, Enroll Now, and go down to the bottom. There's two options. You can either pay in full and save $194, or I should have mentioned this. I didn't mention it. But we do have a 3-payment option. So $397 for 3 payments. And so that's and those are monthly payments. So those are the two options you've got. Emreza says, I wasn't sure I wanted to purchase the legal toolkit, but now I know I need it. Well, we'd love to see you inside. Nicole says, I plan to purchase. Thank you. You are welcome. So yeah, this is cool. I love seeing you all. I love doing these lives and chatting with you. This is a lot of fun. I will. I'm definitely going to be back on Monday night at 7 o'clock. We'll be doing another Q&A. I'm probably going to have wine with me that time. So if you want to have a beverage of choice for you, that's fine. But I'll be doing another one and answering questions. And I'm not going to be doing as much of the presentation the way I did tonight. It'll be probably a shorter thing where I'll be just going on and answering questions because I'm going to leave this. This one actually was I went way more in depth tonight in terms of training and teaching than I normally would do on these lives. And so hopefully that you'll find that helpful, and I will definitely leave this up for at least the next several days. Yuri says, me too. So that'd be great. Don't forget the toolkit. So if you see here, let me move this around because this covers it up. But it's only available till Monday at 11:59 p.m. And then it goes away. But if you have any questions, you get the 12 months of coaching calls. You make your first 1K. And this is information. And then we've got a lot of testimonials here as well from some of my past students, about what they did and didn't know. Karina says, there are areas in my business I don't know how to make assumptions about, don't like to make assumptions about. I just need to know with certainty that what I do is correct. The toolkit provided solid templates to protect my website, get ready for contracting, and so much more. Other services offer templates as well, but what turned out really valuable for me were the group video calls. It helped me get answers to my own questions. And that's why I do them. I've mentioned this before, but when I first started this program last year, have a good night, Frank. When I first started this program last year, group calls was not, I was going to do 4 and that was it. And that was going to be done. But that actually was what people liked more than anything else about the program. So I decided to keep them on. Maria says the downloadable forms were great for development of our privacy policy in terms of use. Also, your guidance helped us greatly in establishment of our LLC. Our site is still under development, so I think this course will continue to provide value over time. In addition, I would like to recommend your course to others who are creating their own online businesses if possible. I love how she says if possible. I always get a crack out of that because, yes, it's definitely possible, Maria. Please refer the course to other people. I appreciate it. Fran Jeans was another student that went through my course. She says the reassurance that my site has got a solid privacy policy in terms of service in place, crazy as it sounds, but as a web designer, we talked about those tonight, this hadn't been a high priority, but the course made me realize that all the fine print is not just for big corporations or e-commerce businesses. And then William, another student of mine that was learning some foundational principles, was so helpful. Even the customizable template-driven contracts increased my understanding tremendously. I've already started using the contracts, so when I pay a designer, nice segue there, I know that I own the creative rights to the materials. And then Jared Castro says, gave me the tools and forms I needed to understand what I had to have in order to be completely legal when starting my LLC and when I set up my website. And I've got, more testimonials from other people now. Let me see something. Let's see here. I mean, these are all from, to show you this. So these are from students. So You can't really see these. Let's see. So Brad says, being part of the Online Business Legal Toolkit and the private student center group on Facebook has given me the courage to move forward with my design. My dream of having an online business, I am now proceeding without fear. From what I have learned, I can recognize individuals in my profession I see online and others in my niche on YouTube making legal mistakes, which may be putting them at risk. You have helped me understand first that those mistakes exist, and second, how not to make those mistakes. My goal is to be one of your most successful students in the future. I also wish success for all the students here. I encourage others to follow your channel and consider purchasing your toolkit. So anyway, I've got lots of other testimonials as well. But anyway, thank you so much to everyone who stayed on to the very end here tonight. I look forward to seeing hopefully some of you in the program. That would be great. I need to run. I am hungry. Need to go to the bathroom. I drank a lot of water, and just being real, as I always am. But I hope everyone has a wonderful night. And like I said, I might be doing another one of these tomorrow. So if you still have some questions, butternut squash Alfredo sounds kind of sweet. Is it sweet? Solar flower, it is so sweet. No, it's we're vegetarians. My wife's a vegan, and so it's kind of like mac and cheese, but instead of using cheese, it's with like butternut squash. That's a really creamy squash, and she puts a lot of good spices in and other things, and with a little bit of like vegan Parmesan on top and some cracked pepper. It's like, oh, my mouth's already watering. It's so good. And the kids love it. I don't know if anyone has kids. We got kids, and 3 of them, and they just don't like to eat anything that we give them. But they love that dinner. I think they somehow think it's actually mac and cheese, but it's not. So anyway, yeah, this has been great. So I might be on tomorrow. I don't know for sure. And if I am, I'm not sure what time, but I'm definitely going to be on Monday night. And for sure, I've already scheduled that on the YouTube channel, but I have not scheduled one for tomorrow because I'm not sure if I'm definitely going to be on. We'll see. But thank you to everyone who's been here, and hopefully you have a great Saturday night. I'm going to go home, get some dinner, and have a glass of wine, and chill with the family for a little bit. So have a good night, folks. Take care. Bye-bye.